welcome back to another episode of the Flying Upstream podcast.
On today's episode, we're exploring Sarah Hallas' journey from profound loss to purposeful impact, embodying the resilience she now instills in others as a life coach. After navigating the devastating grief of losing her son to suicide, she transformed her pain into powerful lessons that continue to touch countless lives. Her unique approach blends cutting-edge insights from neuromodulation with hard-won wisdom, helping clients rewire their mindset for lasting change.
Sarah is known for infusing her sessions with warmth and wit. Sarah's magnetic personality draws creative methods help keep them engaged. Whether speaking to intimate groups or large audiences, she captivates with her authentic storytelling and infectious energy. Her ability to tackle life's heaviest moments while maintaining her characteristic humor makes her both relatable and inspiring. Sarah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. What an introduction.
So, Sarah, tell us a little bit about your journey and how you're disrupting your industry.
Okay, so my journey started, like all journeys, they start without you actually realizing that you're on that journey. So I've always been mental wellness counseling and things like that. I just never studied it, which I think I should have, but instead I did drama and politics, which kept me on my toes. So throughout my career, I had a career in events management, specializing in the pharmaceutical industry. But during the time when I had kids and was married, I worked at my local church. I was a marriage counselor. I did some bereavement counseling, all volunteering stuff. I even did a coaching course. So I've always had an interest in counseling and coaching. And then COVID. So as you know, we were all put on hold. And I decided at that time, let me do course, which I did complete. But as we thought COVID was going to last for on, and before we know it, my bills in front of me, my trenched, and life started throwing some really heavy balls at me. But just before we hit the pandemic, I took my husband to a Buddhist retreat in a remote where we live called Neuromodulation. And it was the guest speaker, a neurosurgeon called Dr. Ian White. And he spoke to us about Buddhist values and where the Buddhists live. And he paralleled it with modulation, basically how we think. So we found this absolutely intriguing. And then once COVID hit and we were sitting at home, David and I decided to do his course. So make me a neuromodulation coach as well. And it was a very tough course, enlightening. Then David and I decided, let's business, and because my husband had experienced in 2014 burnout, whatever you want to call it, whatever these corporates cause, whatever cases. So he had quite a passion to get back into corporates and teach them about mental wellness and performance. So having good mental wellness, you can have. So when we decided to start this company, we started Green Zone Dynamics because we wanted red zone and into the green zone in there. But we had to change the name of the company because people thought we were sanitizing company or recycling to Mind Growth Masters. And that is what it is today. But unfortunately, we had to put a hold on the company because we had a tragedy in our family. On the 30th of August, we went to a meeting. And when we returned, we heard that our son of 26 years old, Matthew, had taken his life. He hanged himself played in for many years as a little boy. And so that really put a spanner in the works, to say the least. But the reason I'm telling you this is not that I want to create awareness for suicide. That's another podcast. That what I want to talk to you about is how neuromodulation, how to, as they say, eat our own dog food. We really had to put in. So as you can imagine, a complete mess. We were arguing. He had gone, what I call, I thought he had gone mad. He was aggressive. He used to be quite a sensitive, kind gentleman. He was angry. He was irritated, and all these things that you can expect after having found your child who had taken his life. And what happened in our house, which was already on the cards, we found our place we were in a very dark place. And I thought, not only have I buried my son, but I'm about to bury my marriage. So after a lot of work and reflection and introspection and all those wonderful things, we managed to get through what we did, but we had to put our neuromodulation. And we've come out of it alive and well and happier, and I suppose more accepting of what's happened to us. And that is what we've put in our practice. Now we run work, we go into corporates and share our power of neuromodulation. And basically, what is neuromodulation, you may ask? Well, it is how we can actually change our brains, neuroplasticity. Our brains, we used to think that our brains was it from womb to tomb. That's what it is. So, she's just I don't know, she's a stingy person. That's just her nature. Oh, she's just a shy person. That's just her nature. We can actually change the way our minds think and our state of minds. And that is what we found quite fascinating. And that's what we try and teach about neuromodulation. So I can carry on explaining about neuromodulation. Can I just carry on, or do you have any more questions? I'm rattling away here.
Well, you answered the question that I had, which was what is neuromodulation? So, because for a lot of us, for me even myself, I'd never heard the term before, and I'm interested to know though how do we now know that? How did we, if you know, how did we become aware that our brains weren't just like that we're not just, okay, that's who she is. That we
Yeah.
could actually have the power to rewire our mindset.
So the first thing we've got to know is what our limiting beliefs are. And that's all part of coaching. But what is interesting from Dr. Weinberg is neuromodulation. So if you take it, obviously the first years of our lives, actually from in utero, so from literally 7 weeks from the pregnancy, our brains are starting to develop and we're taking in things we can hear and we're taking in all sorts of things. So the first 7 years, we are actually in what they call a theta mind state, where we are like complete sponges. We think. And that's why babies, 7 years, they can walk, they can learn a language, they learn how to talk, they can learn all sorts of things, they learn how to eat, etc., within a very short time. And that is because their brains are just absorbing everything. So I always compare it to a computer. Imagine when you get your brand new computer, you take it home, you plug it in, that goes on. There's nothing there. So you obviously have to instill. And that's very, very much like our brain. And we put in those programs. We get those programs from our caregiver, environment, our social status, whatever. All those programs get done. And unfortunately, we not only get good programs, but we also get the bad program. And according to Weinberg, that is exact. So a stressed mother is going to have a stressed baby. I mean, and it makes sense. And a fearful, unattended, or it's deprived of some kind of nurture, will be more anxious than a baby that hasn't. And that is how our brains develop accordingly. So what we has a diagnostic that we test, that we can do a diagnostic and see what your neuromoduration was. And there we can grow better where you have more meaning and purpose, and that you can actually release the good neurotransmitters, the good chemicals, as opposed to the bad chemicals. Cortisol, adrenaline, noradrenaline. And the good chemicals are being serotonin, oxytocin, and dopamine. And in today's world, I think we are so highly strung. We are so stressed. We used to get fearful when we were being chased by a lion, or there was a lack of food or something like that. But now we're actually getting fearful and check our emails. I mean, then you see our amygdala is flaring. And I explain to my clients, I say, your amygdala is supposed to be calm, and it serves you. So it is like your fire department, your police. You only have to push that now and then. But unfortunately, pushing that panic button all the time. Hence, we are extremely stressed. We can't find any joy. Our performance and we're getting sicker and sicker.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And it's a sad state, but you're absolutely right that I know for myself too, you're talking about turning on the computer, emails. I'm already, just you saying that, I'm already feeling it. Like, yeah.
And it usually, for me, it used to start on a Sunday evening. I think, oh, it's Monday tomorrow, and that dread feeling. And yeah, that's. If I had known what I knew now, what I've with you, because I think he was in a complete state of he was fearful of the future. What a lot of people live by. We are so fearful of the future, and it is limiting us. It's not great. It's not good for us.
So for our listeners who may not be unfamiliar with neuromodulation, what are some simple ways that can be incorporated into daily life to promote emotional resilience or mental clarity?
So can I share with you, let me share with you what happens in a trauma. So, for example, my Matthew was a shock like never before. My whole body flooded with cortisol, adrenaline, and it was so flooded that it actually I couldn't self-regulate myself. So what happens is that how that affects the brain. You can't make decisions. Your memory is terrible. You lose your appetite. You can't remember anything. I couldn't read for a while. Watching TV program, attention span, and I was having these. So that happened. Sorry. Oh, was that it? So attention span, and it's just so awful. So over time, I had to calm myself down. That takes a lot of. So meditation is brilliant, and they're actually proving that meditation is beneficial for our mental wellness and for our physical health. You've got to calm the body down, and the best thing of all is to get sleep. I don't care how you get it, just sleep, because sleep is the best medicine ever. So neuromodulation, how can we criticals? We've got to wake up in the morning and have meaning and purpose. We've got to know what we're doing, how we're contributing. We've got to have connectivity, and that's another thing that COVID took away from all of us, another contributing factor to Matthew, because we were in lockdown, serious lockdown in South Africa for a year. And connectivity is so important. Know your tribe. Know the people that feed your soul. Know the people that some energy and take your energy with open arms. So connectivity is another thing. Meaningful busyness, else that also produces lots of oxytocin, and that is busy, but with some kind of purpose, whatever it is, whether it's making blankets for a charity or whether you are busy employing 3,000 people, it doesn't matter, but just make sure you've got meaningful busyness. And yeah, that's recommend, and it work. It's not easy. And another thing that really helped me in my healing was practicing gratitude. Now, I know that sounds all shoo-wary and woo-woo-y, but gratitude, especially with a suicide, it's very difficult for anger to play in the same playground as gratitude. So every time I used to think of Matthew, instead of feeling angry, disappointed, why me? That's not fair, I would just say, gosh, those first 10 chapters of his life that he gave me were brilliant. It was the last chapter that wasn't so good. And then I can go into a completely different mind state. And I would do it all again. I would do it all again because his joy that he gave me for me to be his mother and he was my son outweighs the pain. And that's what I have to remind myself. It's not easy. I don't want to sound like Mary Poppins, but it's once the hard work pays off. So gratitude is an amazing thing.
That's great. And I wonder because, you mentioned joy, and I often think when that word comes up of humor, how can we combine humor and the power of human? How have you in your journey, which, as you said, it is a lot of hard work and it's invisible work. It's work that's usually not something
Yeah.
that is external that people can see so quickly. How have you been able to combine humor with these advanced techniques that you have learned, applied, and that you teach your clients?
So I know I've always been quite humorous. I mean, so it's quite natural for me. And Matthew was also hilarious. So, and I think there's an amazing connection if you can get a smile out of someone. Or so it's not that I try that hard to try and be funny or to make a joke, but I think it is very. So my journey is my journey, and Matthew's journey was his journey, and I'm not even, I mean, don't think I didn't, but, going on to what did I do? Where did I go wrong? Maybe we should have done that now. Maybe we shouldn't have sent him to that school. But you could actually drive yourself mentally. So what I've done is I've handed it over. I've realized that there's only so much I can control in this whole trauma is how I respond to it. So that is my choice, and I choose to respond to it with love and joy and gratitude.
That is just beautiful, Sarah. I really so appreciate you sharing your journey with us. We've learned so much from you, and I can't believe our time together is coming to a close. So,
Here to chat about.
So on our podcast, as you know, we celebrate the unconventional and those who have had the guts to walk the road less traveled. So we'd love to know from you in your own words, what makes your path unconventional?
So mental illness, mental wellness is on a decline, and it's not getting any better, and it's going to be a real problem. I mean, even the World Health Organization have said that by 2030, it's going to be a pandemic. So I don't want to shy away from it. I want to expose it as much. I don't want people to be ashamed of it, and who've had children that have committed suicide. There's no, and give me an opportunity and I will talk about it, about mental health, mental wellness, put it out there, and give it the recognition and the kindness it needs.
Sarah, thank you so much. That is so impactful and so beautiful. Thank you for joining us today, for contributing to the message that we are trying to put out there for our inspiring listeners, as well as the message that you're sending out to the people that you work with, and the world, really. I'm very thankful for the work that you do every day, and what it's doing to the collective.
Oh, thank you for those. Lovely being here.
Likewise. Yeah.
Agreed. Sarah's story of resilience, healing, and innovation is a powerful reminder that even in the face of loss, we can transform our pain into purpose.
That is right. Free spirits. And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, and as always, keep flying upstream.